you're always like, there may be someone better. Right? Even though the date went well, but that same pressure is on you.
The other person might be thinking the same thing, so I better not mess this up.
So I think there's a lot of pressure to be perfect as well. Even though there's more, it's an abundance.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, there's a lot of pressure because the expectations are so high now.
Yeah, I feel like that's a big result of technology, wouldn't you say? Because of the apps and because of the abundance. When you have so many options, it is very easy to just move on because you can, right? You have the ability to keep looking, to keep filtering.
Hi, welcome to the Magnetic Mismatch Show. My name is Linda.
And this is Will.
Will, what are we talking about today?
We are talking about a really fun topic today, how technology has changed dating. But of course, as usual, before we get into the good stuff, you want to tell a little bit about what happened, how we came up with this topic?
Yeah, it's funny. We came up with this topic. It's a little random. But I was getting ready in the morning and Will was heating up some food in the oven. I came out to the kitchen. I'm like, it smells like something is burning. And Will's like happy and jolly. He's like, yeah, it smells like Christmas, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's cinnamony.
It smells like burnt cinnamon. And I looked in the oven and I'm like, honey, there's a fire.
Deja vu.
The oven is on fire.
I think I just need to stay away from ovens.
You just need to stop cooking.
Really? You'll do all the cooking from now on?
Well, no.
Oh, okay. Then
just don't use that. Just microwave only.
Microwave only. Yeah. I'm only allowed to use the microwave now. It's like a child.
Yeah, it's like deja vu to the day when you almost burnt down my apartment.
But you were the one that dropped the cinnamon. And the oven down, like there's like a little crevice, right?
But that's not my fault. That's poor design. Manufacturer
I see.
design.
So it's the oven's fault.
The oven's fault.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, thankfully it was
it's just a small little fire.
Small little like downplaying it. It was just a small little fire inside the house. No, thankfully it burnt the cinnamon out. It was just like a little bit. But it was funny because you were like running like, oh my God, what do we do? And we didn't have a fire extinguisher at home, which now we were looking into buying one because like, oh my God,
Yeah. I just closed the oven.
Let it play it out.
Yeah, let it play out.
And then we were we just didn't prepare. We weren't prepared. Yeah. So now we know.
It would have been really bad if...
Yeah. But how did that turn into what we're talking about today?
I think after that incident, it took a little bit of time to kind of slow down the heartbeat a little.
Yeah.
And we were laughing about it because it was kind of, deja vu to what happened in Arizona when Will almost burnt down my apartment making steak.
So if you heard one of our previous episodes, we shared that story.
Yeah. And we were just talking about, oh man, that was like years ago.
Yeah.
And we've been dating for almost 11 years now. And it got us reminiscing a little. And, we were just talking about how dating is like now.
Yeah, we hear from our friends that are still in the dating game. They're single and it's very different, I guess, because we haven't dated for so long. But when we did date, we were right on the cusp of when dating apps started becoming popular and technology played a much bigger role, right, in the dating world.
Yeah. And I think technology really helped us with our relationship. Yeah. But with that being said, though, I think when we were starting to date...
Which was what, 2009?
Yeah, like 2009. That's when there were dating sites. It was starting to become popular, but there were a lot of stigma.
Yeah, there was a stigma around it for
associated with using one of those dating websites, or there wasn't an app yet. I don't believe so.
Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah. So
It was like what, eHarmony websites you would have
Yeah,
to go
like
into.
website you have to sign up
It's
for.
like a
But the
subscription.
stigma was, why are you using that website? What's wrong with you?
I
Something's got to
know,
be
right?
wrong with you. But I think now it's much more accepted. Actually, it's become the norm.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the big thing for sure.
yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Like before, you would hear people like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why would you date online? Like, are you dating a robot?" Like, people that didn't
Because
really
people didn't
understand it.
understand. Yeah,
Yeah,
but with that stigma though, I think I'm glad we had the some technology to help us with our relationship, because you and I, we were very busy. We were talking to each other and getting to know each other prior to the first date for at least a month
with
through
technology.
with technology through AIM.
And for those people that are maybe a little bit younger than we are, just a little bit, maybe that didn't grow up in that era. At that time, it was instant messaging was the thing. So it wasn't texting or DMing or direct messaging or social media messaging as popular as it is now. It was using apps called.
It's not even an app.
Oh, it wasn't an app. It
No, you
wasn't.
have to log
It was a
on to
piece of
your
software.
software. You could only use it through your computer, because
America
let's
Online,
let's put
AOL.
it let's kind of paint the picture of what it was like in 2009.
Take us back. Take us back.
Let's take us back. Okay. One, there was no such thing as unlimited data. Data was very expensive.
Right.
And for all of the people that used internet through their phones or texting or minutes, back in the early 2000s, you would get, everyone has probably gotten this message a couple times. Your data is about to run out. You have X amount of days to make that last.
You would always get nervous.
Yeah, and the overage fees were ridiculous.
Right.
There were they didn't have unlimited minutes until probably later on, but it's only like after 9 p.m. or so.
Mm-hmm. I think they had those plans, but they were ridiculously expensive, right? Most people basically couldn't afford it.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure, but I know everyone was locked into like
That's true.
Like a finite
amount. Yeah.
Amount.
So every text that you sent or received, you would be very like mindful too of it.
Yeah, and the plans were very expensive back then, so I only had a prepaid plan.
Mm-hmm.
So it was even more limited, because for the prepaid plan, a tongue twister.
Yeah.
I think it's like every text message is like I don't know, 10 or 20 cents.
Oh wow!
It
that's
bites
right.
into your little prepaid card. So it could add up very fast. Like like a high. It was like 10 cents, 20 cents.
Yeah. So it was very different.
Yeah. So I had to be very mindful on when to use my phone, because it was very expensive, and it's not like I had money to pay for another prepaid frequently. So I had to be very mindful of when to use that phone. So the only free option was AIM.
Yeah, it was AOL chat, basically instant messaging.
Yeah. So every night, around 8 o'clock, Will and I, we would log on to. We would magically show up at the same time.
I just happened to be online.
Happened to be on AIM.
Yeah, I wasn't waiting for you or anything to get online.
No.
You weren't waiting for me, were you?
No.
Oh, okay.
Of course not. It's not like you sat there and wait for the window with that window sound to open. No,
to show
the
that
door,
you logged on.
the door to open.
Yeah, they had this little sound whenever someone logged on
or log off,
or like a door opening, and then when you logged off, it was a door closing, so you knew when someone was on or offline.
Yeah.
And it's funny, right? Because even though, the reason we started talking to each other was because you had run into a mutual friend. Or an acquaintance. We keep saying acquaintance, but we ran into somebody, a schoolmate that we used to know or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And that kind of sparked our conversation. And we actually communicated first through AIM, right? The instant messaging. And that's when we started our dialogue, right?
Yeah, and I think if it wasn't for AIM
Yeah, and
and
technology.
technology, I don't think we would have, even if he or she
Hmm.
told you that we ran into each
Yeah.
other, I don't think
Where would it
you,
have gone from there?
yeah, you wouldn't have called me out of the blues and said, "Hey,
Just right.
did you run into blank?"
Just over the phone.
Just
Yeah,
over
and
the
then
phone. That would have been a little
out of
awkward,
place, right?
out of
Versus
place, versus just a message, "Hey,
online. Yeah.
you ran into a mutual friend
Yeah.
or an acquaintance."
Right. And that's how we built our relationship, was we got to know each other before we even went on a date, right? We were chatting with each other every day
For
basically.
hours.
Yeah, until our first date, which was what, like a month later, maybe
Like a
somewhere along
month
those
later.
later. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's pretty cool. So we basically wouldn't be here today if it weren't for technology, right? To help our relationship.
Yeah. And I think even after the first date,
Yeah.
we continued to
Stay in
connect with each
touch. Yeah.
other through AIM, um, because we had very busy schedules, and
Right.
yeah, and I was still living at home at that time, and
It just wasn't as
my dad was
convenient,
still
right?
snooping on the phone.
Yeah.
Even though I was in college, he was still
Right.
snooping.
Yeah.
And my cell phone it had such limited minutes that our option was AIM.
Yeah, I mean, we eventually moved on to talking on the phone. I mean, we pretty quickly, I think,
Yeah,
right?
but that's after I was able to, after a year or so,
Yeah.
when I was able to save up for an actual data plan.
Was it that long before we talked on the phone?
No, we were talking on the phone here and there, but
Yeah, but not on a regular.
not on a
Right,
regular
yeah.
basis until I
Yeah.
was able to
Like,
afford
oh,
a
we didn't
cell
talk to each
phone.
other on the phone until like a year later.
No,
No.
no, we went on dates.
No, of course, I know.
Yeah. And yeah, but we didn't have the chance to really, just talk on the phone
Right.
because of the
Yeah, it
limitations.
had to be through AIM. And we did talk on the phone, but it would be very strategic, right? Like you said.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now that you mention it, I remember now. Like, so it was like what, after 9 or 10, and we would talk for like 3 or 4 hours. So we
Yeah.
would be both up late, as you know, until, and then we would be tired the next day because we have long days.
Yeah. It was
Damn, I remember
interesting.
that. Yeah, but it didn't feel long, right? We were talking, I'm like, oh my god, 4 hours just blew
Okay,
by.
gotta go to sleep.
Yeah,
Gotta go to
we
sleep.
should go to bed now.
Yeah.
So, but that's when I knew we hit it off, right?
Yeah.
So that was cool. But yeah, I think with technology, kind of how that relates to today's dating and everything like that, I think first and foremost, it makes it a lot more convenient, right? Nowadays, dating, having technology makes it more convenient than it was before all the technology. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think especially people who are busy, it's kind of nice because they can date and meet people on their own terms.
Exactly.
They can log onto an app on their phone anywhere and be able to find someone to connect with,
Yeah.
or if they've connected with someone, to keep that interaction going,
Hmm.
right? So that's nice. And also, it kind of helps. I think people with odd schedules, it kind of helps them connect with other people with odd schedules. Because
Yeah,
if
that's
they're
true.
on at weird times of
Right.
the day and
3
someone,
a.m. or
yeah,
something.
but that's because that's their schedule,
Yeah.
and someone else is on at 3 a.m. That's an alignment of schedule
Right.
already.
Yeah, because that's so true. Like, imagine like you work the graveyard shift, right? And there's a lot of people that work those hours, right?
Absolutely.
And normally, like, how the heck do you find a date, or do you go on a date, or do you? I mean, you probably wouldn't be going on a date at that time, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, right? Like, how do you find people, like you said, that have that similar schedule, unless you just randomly ran into that?
Yeah. See, like before, it was a little harder because, you know, before the apps and the technology, you literally would have to meet someone through a workplace where you worked at, where you went to school, or someone would have to introduce you
Sure.
to the person
Within your network or your social group.
Yeah, and that makes it a lot harder because, if you were working graveyard and the other person works early in the morning and likes to sleep
Sorry.
early, it's
Yeah.
like there's already um, a misalignment of
Right.
schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you could argue that most people would probably date on the weekends, right? So maybe they wouldn't go on as many dates. It wouldn't be as frequent,
Hmm.
right? And it was probably harder to find those dates, like, instead of
Yeah,
how it is now, right?
yeah. But then, yeah, you can argue that they're dating on the weekend, but how about the in between, the phone
Hmm.
conversations?
Yeah.
So that wouldn't work out.
Yeah. So, right. It felt like before the technology, you're restricted, right? To if you're going to go on a date, you would most likely have to physically be there,
Yeah.
or you could call them, but I don't know. Like you don't even know the person. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there listening that have done it obviously before all the
Yeah.
technology. We just don't know
We just don't know.
because we had the luxury of having the technology by the time we started dating.
Yeah. We had a screen to help us. I, it's kind of scary to just let's say you get an introduction. It's kind of scary to have to for someone, one of your friends or family members, to give you a phone number. Hey, just call this person.
But you're trusting them, right?
Yeah, and try to make a connection, because they'll tell you a little bit
Sure,
about the
sure.
person,
Yeah.
but it's kind of hard.
Hey, but then also, like, if like a lot of parents, they like to introduce and set their kids up with their friends' kids also, right? So you have to remember that too.
Yeah,
And
but
sometimes like it feels like they're when they do that, you trust a little bit more, no?
I don't know.
Depends on the
That's
parents.
that's debatable.
Trust as in that at least they're not like a serial killer or an axe murderer, right? I would think. I don't
would
know.
hope
You're
not.
right.
That's,
Doesn't mean that your parents are going to set you up with the right person.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trust that part.
Yeah. Sometimes our judgments can be impaired.
Yeah, but from a safety standpoint,
I
I would
guess.
have a higher level of confidence in that.
I guess because they would only want to introduce you to someone they think that it's
From a
worth.
good family.
Yeah,
and-
good family. The person seems smart, whatever. But I don't know. I think that's like an interesting one, because what if
There
what if
might be
you
a little. Yeah.
what if you go on a date with that person
Oh,
and you
man.
absolutely thought that person was terrible, or you find
Uh-oh.
out that he or she is not as good
Oh,
as they portray to be,
that is
right? Because they
100%
can have
true.
secret lives.
Oh, for sure. And
And
they could
then-
be very different, right?
Yeah, and then let's say you don't want to go on a second date.
Mm-hmm.
Will that impair your parents' relationship? What if they're really good friends? What if they're best friends?
Yeah.
And now you potentially ruined their friendship.
You could create a rift, right?
Yeah.
Because your kids don't get why aren't they like married yet?
Yeah, or it's like, what, you don't think my kid is good enough for your kid?
Damn. Stop stirring up drama, dude.
And it's a pride thing too.
It is, yeah. That's my little angel.
That exactly.
They're perfect. They might not see it, right?
They might not even know.
They might not know. Yeah, like if they're having a double life, or if they're a complete a-hole, right, in person.
What if they're rude to
rude,
people, or
mean,
yeah,
not a good person, right? That's so true.
You
They
never know.
might just want to present this persona in front of the family, or at of group functions, like, oh, I'm actually
I'm a good person,
right. But then on the flip side, maybe they treat people horribly, but they don't do that in front of their friends and family.
Yeah.
Oh, that is very true.
Yeah. So.
And your parents won't know that. Their parents may not even know that.
Yeah.
So like you said, if things don't work out, it does get a little messy and complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah. And when you introduce somebody, let's say if you introduce like your friend to somebody,
Yeah.
and when things don't work out, it creates tension too.
Already.
So
Yeah.
you always have to put yourself on the line.
You do. Anytime you make
And I think that's the great thing about technology, is that you can take that pressure off of your friends and family.
Sure.
Right? Because before, I know, because I've heard it before, like a mutual friend would ask my parents, oh, do you have anyone to introduce me? Yeah, from
Yeah.
a good family,
Yeah.
whatnot. And now you're put into this position of playing matchmaker, and that may not be your specialty. Or
Yeah, that's a little scary.
yeah, and then you put your reputation on the line, and then you put your friendship on the line too,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. It just complicates things, right? Whereas here, if with the use of technology, dating apps, right, you're meeting strangers, as scary as it may be, it's also a little bit less complicated. It's clean, right? In the sense that if you don't like somebody, you don't have to go on a date with them. You don't have to continue the conversation, right?
Yeah, you can just delete them
Walk
or
away,
block
move
them.
away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Block, done.
Yeah. And I think it's great too for people that are more introverts.
Yes.
I feel like it creates less of a barrier for them to meet people, because I'm looking at someone like myself.
Hmm.
I think one of my weak points to work on is that I have trouble just approaching people in public, or if I don't know them, it's really hard for me to just immediately warm up to my personality. It takes a little bit of time to warm up,
Definitely
and once I
does.
do, you can't shut me up. But that's a different story. But the initial awkwardness is it's something that I have trouble breaking through. So for introverts like myself, it's great because you get that awkwardness out of the way already, and you kind of know the person already, and you know what they like, what they don't like, just a little bit to go off of, right?
You're saying if you can build a connection before you even meet in person, right? Like through texting or through the app or whatever. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
us.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, we went
There's
to
a foundation.
Yeah, we went to the same high school together, but we never talked to each other.
Right.
But that initial month when we were just talking on AIM, I
Yeah.
got to know
My personality. I got to know your
Exactly.
personality. We got to joke with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have some inside jokes, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
And it breaks that ice.
That's so true. Cause then I think about that too. You're right. Like if we didn't have that opportunity, it would have been harder, or maybe it would have taken longer for you to, maybe you would have been nervous, right? Or something. And your real personality wouldn't have come out, and I wouldn't have gotten to see that. Right. And then I would have just based it on, just that one interaction. you
Yeah.
know?
So I think by knowing someone prior to your first date through technology, I think it also takes off some of the pressure of that first date.
Yeah.
And I think it's a little bit more forgiving too.
Yeah.
Because that person can be, funny or this or that. But let's say on the first date they're very stiff and just or these may seem cold, or
Right.
something
It's
may
like-
be off,
yeah.
And then you're more likely to just kind
Brush
of
it off, yeah.
oversee that a little, because their true personality.
Yeah, maybe it was like, oh, they're so like charismatic and funny, in our interactions online. But then when we met in person, it's like, wait, this isn't the same person for some reason. And like you said,
That is always a possibility.
it could be too. It could be someone putting up a complete act, right? That's one of the cons, catfishing or something, you know?
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I think, like you said, right, you're more forgiving. You're probably going to overlook some of those things and be like, well, they were probably just nervous, right?
Yeah.
And then you can move on from there. Whereas if you didn't have that connection built in advance and it's an awkward like blind date or first date and it goes horribly wrong or it's awkward, like you said,
Yeah.
it sucks because that was the one chance and you might not get a second chance, a second date, because that first one was so bad, and there's no foundation to fall back on.
Yeah.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
Very true. I like that.
But but the thing with the online dating though, I feel like, yes, it's a lot easier to meet people.
Mhm.
We've established that.
Right.
But with that being said though, does it change the expectations of dating? Like,
What do you mean?
now the pool is so big, right?
Yeah.
You have so many people,
So many options. Right.
So do you put less energy into every date to make it work?
I think it also, yeah, to answer that question, I mean, yes and no. It depends on the person, whether there's technology or not, I think. But I think, like, for example, like if you didn't, I guess when you didn't have the technology before, are you trying to say that you would be more, you would spend more effort and energy to prepare for the date and be on, and when you're on the date that you actually try to make sure you don't screw things up because you know if you mess this up, you might not have another date for a little while?
Yeah, and I think in that, and are you a little bit more forgiving? Willing to put up, because let's be honest, or let's be real. Um, it's really hard to have a perfect match with two people who are,
I just like was taken real aback right now. I was like,
there's always going to be something that annoys you about them that you have to work on, right?
uh-huh.
Um,
Sure.
so what I'm saying is, are you willing to work on not their flaws, but whatever bothers you about them, or overlook it, versus now it's so easy to get a second date
Uh-huh.
that if, let's say, one little thing, I don't like the way he choose swipe left. you know
Yeah. Or there's no more. Yeah, because that's true. Like, your expectations are maybe unrealistic, right? Because you're expecting this perfect human being, and because there's, like you said, so easy now and more abundant, and there's so many options. It's as simple as swiping left or swiping right. If this person doesn't exactly match that criteria you're looking for, then in the back of your mind, well, I could always go back on the app and try somebody else, right? Try
Mhm.
another date, because there's almost an unlimited supply, right?
Yeah. and
I don't know if that's healthy.
and what if the date went really well?
Right. Like, let's say everything else was good. Let's say like 90% of the date was
Yeah, you
fine.
you enjoyed the day, you had a great time, good conversation, but then in back of your head, I feel like there's always like, well, what if someone is even better than
Oh,
that?
no.
The grass is always greener on the other
Yeah.
side.
You could totally fall into that. I could see that. I mean, we obviously haven't like dated in the using the apps and things like that, because we haven't dated for like 10 years.
Yeah, over.
Yeah. But I can see how you could fall victim to that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's
Because the
like,
temptation's always there.
exactly. I mean, the day was great, but maybe I can have someone even better.
Right. So at what point are you satisfied, right?
Yeah.
Because you could always, like I said, the expectation becomes bet more and more and more and more, right? You expect more and more. And there's nothing wrong with, having high expectations. You
Yeah.
should, right, for yourself.
Yeah. And I think it goes the same way with the person dating too, because knowing that in back of your head, the person you're going out on the date with can feel the same way.
What do you mean?
Like, because in back of your head, you're like, wait, you're always like, there may be someone better,
Mhm.
even though the
Mhm.
date went well, but
But
that same pressure is on you.
the other person might be thinking the same thing, so I better
Exactly.
not mess this up.
So I think there's a lot of pressure to be perfect as
Yeah.
well, even though there's more. It's an abundance,
Yeah.
but it's kind of, there's a lot of pressure because
Right.
the expectations are so high now.
Yeah. And that is, I think for sure, I feel like that's a big result of technology, wouldn't you
Mhm.
say? Because of
Yeah.
the apps and because of the abundance. When you have so many options, it is very easy to just move on, because you can, right?
Yeah.
You have the ability to keep looking, to keep filtering. And I think one point that you can make too is that, sometimes when you're going into the dating game, you don't really know exactly what you like or don't like yet. That comes with experience, right? But
Mhm.
sometimes I think we're limited to our own bias, right? Like, you might have a specific type in your mind that you want to date, a specific, I don't know, profile of a person that you're thinking of.
Yeah.
But when you do that, what happens?
You narrow yourself.
Yeah, you limit yourself from being able to expose yourself to other people that maybe that how do you know you wouldn't have liked or gotten along with that person? You have never even tried it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you just assumed. So like when when people create these online profiles, they're kind of writing down like this is my type, or
Mm-hmm.
this person, or they only look for these type of
They
people.
filter. They start
Right.
filtering.
Right. And so they're missing out on a lot of opportunities that they wouldn't have otherwise had an opportunity to try, right?
Yeah. I think the beauty of online dating or through an app is that you can date someone out of your social circle.
Sure.
Right? You can date someone from a different
Completely different
background, culturally, religion,
environment. Yeah,
everything.
that's true.
That's the beauty of it.
It is there. It's up to
It's
you to look
there.
for that though, right? Or
Yeah,
to be open to it.
but like you said, most people they like to filter.
Yeah.
But maybe they can open up that filter and try other people.
Mm-hmm.
And well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you never know.
Yeah. So it's really up to that person, of course, but it's nice to have that option, right? Whereas
Yeah.
before it's much harder, wouldn't you say? Because you're kind of restricted to where you live, where you work,
Who you know.
your specific social circle, right?
Mhm.
Whatever that may be, that's it. You're kind of limited. You're hoping that you run into somebody nice or somebody that you connect with in your daily activity, whether it's going to work or otherwise, or a club or something, organization.
Yeah.
Whereas here with the tech, I mean, you get access to
The
everybody.
possibilities are endless.
Wow. Yeah. So I guess, to kind of tie some things up too, what about like visibility and privacy? Like what I mean is, what's funny is if you're dating today, right, with the technology, with social media, everybody has a social media page and things like
Mhm.
that. People could also look you up and check you up before you even reach out to that person, right? They can do a little Facebook stalking.
Yeah. Or they could just run a background check for like $3.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
You know, I've heard this is true story. Um, I've heard from one of my girlfriends that in the dating world today, you have to have a good Instagram page.
Oh,
That is almost like your selling point because the person you're talking to is going through your page.
it's your resume,
Yeah.
your dating resume.
Yeah, and your pictures have to be up to par. You have to put your best foot forward. You have to look like you're having an amazing time in life. It's like
Yeah, your life is just filled with highlight reels.
yeah. So I think there's a social media pressure there too.
Yeah, that's true. Because people will be looking at that.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I've heard otherwise too. Like I know some of my girlfriends, they won't go on a date with a guy if he doesn't have a social media page for them
Wow.
because they don't know the person. They don't know.
Yeah.
They kind of use it to gauge like safety too.
Interesting.
If the person has no presence, like they have no clue on,
Well, what if the person just doesn't like social media?
but and that's just
that's the pressure.
That's the
game.
pressure. Yeah.
That's how the game is now.
Because then they look into their friends,
Mm-hmm.
right? To see.
Do you have friends?
Yeah,
Are
see
you
what
normal?
they do. Yeah, see what they do. Do they have pictures with family?
Do they have pets?
Yeah,
I heard that's usually a big up
A
for
plus.
wow, with pictures with dogs and stuff.
But then you can argue that these photos could be fake.
Oh my god.
You don't know. You
have to use your best judgment, right?
You can use a green screen and you can be anywhere in the world.
We've seen that happen with people. Yeah. That's so true. There's a lot to think about. Yes, it's I think technology is great and it's created more options, but I agree with you. It's created so many additional layers, right, of things to think about and consider.
Yeah.
So that's but it does, I feel like to me, I feel like it's more beneficial than not. Having it is better than not having it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's nice to have options.
It's like more tools, right, to help you use to help you accomplish whatever you're looking to do, which in this case is hopefully finding a significant other, if that's what you're looking for.
But I think, like you said too, it kind of depends on the person.
Yeah, of course.
I think, just because someone says they're ready to settle down and have a relationship doesn't mean they truly are,
Yeah.
right? Because they say that, but then they're always making excuses on why that person is not working. And I think when that's the case, you kind of have to, you know, really talk to yourself and reevaluate yourself to see, am I true? Do I truly mean it when I want to settle down?
Yeah.
Or is this a single life that I want, which is fine?
Yeah. Do they just enjoy that lifestyle?
Yeah. Or do you enjoy just the high of going on dates?
Right. Yeah.
So it's hard to say, because if you're truly ready to settle down and you go on a great date, I'm pretty sure you're gonna make an effort to make it work, or
to
at
move
least
things
to
forward.
move things forward.
Right.
Yeah.
Instead of, like, we were saying earlier, you find one flaw and you self-sabotage, right?
Yeah.
Everything else was great, but they forgot to, I don't know, to open the door for you.
Yeah.
One small thing. I mean, yes, you should open the door for people. But you know what I mean, right? Like one minor thing, and it's like, oh, nope, they didn't do that, or they did this. Moving on, right? So yeah, it's whether there's technology involved or not, it's all about internally. Are you mentally, emotionally ready to settle down, if that's what you're looking for in the dating? Or you can just be dating casually, right? Whatever the goal is, you got to be clear about that.
Yeah.
You got to know what you want.
Yeah. Because you can't say you want one thing and then do something else.
Sure. Yeah.
It's not gonna work.
No.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then what would you say about if you had to date today? Obviously we're married. For people that might not know, we are married. We've been married for now over a year. Wait, what was that sigh for? It's been one of the best years, hasn't it?
Can I just return you?
Sorry, dude. Policy over.
Expired.
You had a chance. But yeah, what would you do today if you had to date? Would you use apps? Because I know there's still some people that are very hesitant, or maybe like resistant to using dating apps, because for some reason that stigma, or they're in their mind, they still think it's like lesser than like other methods, like going and meeting people through connections or whatever, through the network.
Yeah, I think I would use an app, just because, like I said, I'm too shy to just approach someone at the bar.
I think most women wouldn't be approaching guys.
Or yeah, but even if they're talking to me at a bar, it's really hard. It's just
it's just not your personality.
It's not my personality. I would probably automatically think you're a creeper.
Oh my gosh. See, this is the problem. Like you guys want like dates and things like that. You want the guys to approach you. But when we do approach you, then it's like, oh, what are you doing? Like, what? How does that make any sense?
It doesn't, but it's okay.
But that's how it is.
That's how it is, okay? So I think I would want to get to know them through an app.
Or through something, right?
Through social media a little bit, warm myself up, and then go on the date. I think that'll ease the tension for me.
Sure.
And for me, safety is huge.
Yeah.
Right. So I would probably be the one doing a background check on you.
Damn.
I mean, I'm not gonna even lie.
You would be the type.
I would be the type to Instagram stalk you.
Okay.
Stalk your friends.
Whoa.
And then, I
hope you guys are all hearing this.
To see, yeah, I mean, because it could be fake, right? Because if you guys are friends, if you're posting a bunch of pictures with that person, and then you go onto that person's page and they don't even have one photo of you, it's like, question mark.
Photoshopping or what? Wait,
yeah,
people do that?
Yes.
Or just like they're not as close as you think.
And it's important for me to know that you're not a murderer.
A weirdo. Interesting. Hey, weirdos need love too.
But I just want to come home from a date safely, right?
Well, just because
I don't want to be on a missing persons.
I guess, yeah, you're right. Like, I guess even in every aspect, right? It doesn't matter which dating, whether it was before or now. With technology, it's always a concern, right?
Yeah.
Because even if before you might not have met them online, but you still really don't know who they
Yeah.
are.
Yeah, but joking aside, I think, when you're going on these dates, it is very intimidating and scary because, safety is always a concern, right? Because you don't know this person. They could be putting on a facade through when you're talking to them on social media. The photos could be fake, right?
Uh,
They can be very clever. And
or they could be creating something that's not real.
yeah.
It's different from
So
who they
I
are.
think, you should always meet in public and maybe not have the person pick you up from where you live, just for safety. So meet somewhere in public. I think you should always let someone know where you're going.
Yeah.
And it might be wise to even turn on your location,
Hmm.
for one of your family members or friends, just in case, something happens, knock on wood, someone will always know where you're at. And, periodically check in
Yeah.
with somebody.
I think girls are pretty good about that, though.
Yeah.
They're kind of like live feed, updating all their girlfriends on like how the date's going and this and that. Don't laugh at me. Like I know exactly what
Call
you guys do.
me. Call me
Yeah.
now
Call me in 10 minutes if
so I can escape.
yeah, there's an exit plan. I know the tactics.
Oh no, you broke your ankle? Okay, let me go home and pick you up.
Yeah. Oh, I have to go to the bathroom real quick and then boop, disappeared. But again, it's safety, right? So it is
safety.
really
Yeah.
important. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially as women, I think for guys, we have to be safe, of course, too, because there are also crazy women too out
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
We're not discriminating, but I think especially for women, and just be smart, right? Just like anything else, you always want to be aware of your surroundings and things like that. But this is not to put people off from dating, especially people that, like I said, like maybe they're a little bit intimidated by the more conventional ways of dating, and I think having technology makes it less intimidating for sure.
Yeah, because back then, dating was very formal, right?
Yeah.
It had to be because, it's like you don't get the opportunity to meet a bunch of people. But now, from what I've heard from some of my girlfriends,
And you see it.
yeah, and I see it, it's very casual. You don't need to do a whole dinner. You could just
No.
meet up for a quick drink and
Right.
see if you're vibing with that person.
Sure. Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, then great. You didn't waste your time.
Yeah. Something
Yeah.
casual,
Yeah.
something easygoing with an exit strategy
And safety.
Yeah. And hopefully, like, in most cases now with using technology and dating apps, it's like it really does gives you a chance to get a sample of that person's personality, what they're like, right? You get to move it forward. Even if you don't want to meet in person right away, you could start off with, let's say, messaging and then escalate to the next thing, which is video chat, right? You have that too.
Yeah.
And then from there, if you feel comfortable, you can take little baby steps too.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I say this, and I think it's important, is because I do know people out there that they do want to find somebody, but they're so afraid of putting themselves out there, or they're intimidated by even trying an app. Something in their head, right, is like preventing them from trying it. Maybe there's a stigma, like we said earlier, about dating, using it.
Yeah.
Using like a dating app,
And the unknown is scary.
It is.
Right? If you've never tried something, it's always scary to take that first step.
Yeah.
And then after you try it, it's like, oh, it's not so bad after all.
It's actually really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you want to conclude with?
I think dating is scary because, you always have to put your best foot forward. And then, and trying to basically build a connection with a person you don't know. But with that being said, I think it's great when you do find that person that you connect with. It's really fun. And then I think, through dating, you kind of learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
What you like, what you don't like. So that's why it's good to open up and not be so narrow-minded and, filter out traits that you think you like.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be able to expose yourself.
Yeah.
to different types of people,
Hmm.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I think the process of dating, I had a lot of fun dating, being single. I enjoyed it.
Mhm.
And it really, like you said, it exposed me to a lot of different people, different personalities, different backgrounds, and interesting stories for sure. We'll
Yeah.
save some of those for next time. But yeah, it kind of gets you out of your bubble, out of your shell. And even though there have been some bad dates and awkward experiences for sure, cringeworthy ones, and people are probably like, "Wow, why do you share those?" Well, we'll keep them for next time. But it can be very messy. It can be awkward, right? And like you said, it's also putting yourself in a vulnerable position because you are
It really is.
putting
Yeah.
yourself out there and hoping people accept you for who you are. But I will say this, even through all that mess and craziness and windiness, try to have fun in the process, but at the end of that process is a beautiful prize. It's a beautiful reward, and that's finding
Hmm.
somebody that you connect with. That person's not perfect, not a perfect human being. I don't think those exist, close to perfect for some, right? But the perfect person for you, right? And
Yeah.
somebody that you could that that can, if to put it another way, is somebody that can deal with your BS for the rest of your life, with your flaws and things like that, right? They accept you for who you are, and that's a beautiful feeling. Finding that love, finding that acceptance. It's worth going through all the other stuff to get there.
Yeah. And it's very liberating to find the person who accepts you for who you are. And you can be your complete self without any judgment. Because it's tough. You go
Yeah.
out in the world and, you get judged constantly, but it's nice
Yeah.
to come home to, someone where you don't have to put on
Yeah.
a facade or anything and you can
Sure.
just be truly yourself.
Right. Because even the dating process, that's what we're all doing, right? When you go on a date, they're not seeing those bad habits. They're not seeing that weird side of you. We all have that weird side, by the way. You're putting your best foot forward, right?
Mhm.
And we are putting on a little bit of a mask too,
Yeah.
right? You want to present yourself well. But hopefully when we move beyond that, you still like each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we that's what we encourage you to do is to be open minded, go out, try, have fun,
Yeah.
date. So that's kind of it for us, I think. Unless you want to add anything else, I think
No.
we're good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So make sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Magnetic Mismatch, which is also the handle for our social media. We're on Instagram, and also to obviously subscribe and like or give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
And tune in every Thursday. That's when we release a new episode
Yes.
every week on
Yeah.
Thursday. See you there.
Yes, and share with your friends if you enjoyed this episode or if you think they would have some fun listening to some of our content.
Yeah.
All right.
Until
Great.
then, bye.
Bye, guys.